Hi, I'm Janice Switlo, and I've been on the topic of lawyers and graduated law students the last couple of episodes, and I'm actually going to throw one more out here, kind of a pet peeve of mine. That is, a couple decades ago, I recommended that expertise in Indigenous law be developed, and I've always contributed to that effort, trying to share my knowledge. I remember I have two sources of legal knowledge: a classic, Osgood Hall articles of big law and practicing in my own firm, etc. But I also, the more importantly, was educated in Indigenous law. I've not just read about it, I've experienced it, I've seen it, I've been witness. This is how I know it continues to exist and continues to be exercised. So instead of setting up a structure, an organization that says, you know what, this lawyer has some background like that. This lawyer understands and has experienced Indigenous law, and we can rely on that expertise. Instead, what gets formed? Indigenous Bar Association, race-based, right? If you have a certain color skin or look a certain way, you are now a member of the Indigenous Bar Association, and this is a complete, you have all over the world, you have experts in areas of law, in cultural areas and in different laws, and no one expects all the experts to look the same way and be from that area. In fact, some of the most important international lawyers are able to do comparative law examples and are able to move within different jurisdictions and explain the differences. It never matters their personal background in the sense of how they look and where they're from. And so instead of developing this Indigenous law expertise, we instead have an Indigenous Bar Association. And just because a person is of Indigenous nationality does not make them an expert in Indigenous law. So that's something that needs to be rethought. Just because you're more comfortable with someone that looks a certain way, you need to understand what is it they know, how can they help protect in terms of Indigenous law. And one example, I've used it before because I've just been so disappointed with this. A person, an Indigenous person, who's been given awards and set up to say this is a really good lawyer, and I've reviewed the work of that lawyer, and in any other field it's negligent. It doesn't even, in terms of basic legal drafting, you don't even have complete thoughts, you don't even have proper definitions. It is substandard and would never be accepted by any other client set. But Indigenous nationals, sadly enough, are said, here's a good lawyer for you. Here's a person that went through law school. Here's a person who can help you and know what you're doing and know what to do. Well, yeah, being fed federal documents, being fed federal initiatives, fill in the blank kind of stuff. But when it comes to actually knowing and believing, and here's the key, right? If your lawyer or other advisors don't actually know and believe in who you are and what you have, how the heck can they ever protect you? Just because they're a cousin, an auntie, a relation, doesn't mean they carry the knowledge and authorities and know what to do. They may well have the capacity, if they wish, to learn those things. But my experience and my observation has been that many of these people who are propped up actually believe in that propping up. They do not even understand that their work would never meet the minimal standards expected of lawyers conducting the practice of law in other fields. It's sad to say, but that's all I have to say about that.